friends in the film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. And just in time, as we discuss things that blow, here's Casey. I mean, right off the jump, if we're talking about things that blow in Oklahoma, we got to go right to Casey as well. But what is going on? Yeah, the month of Twistful is wrapping up, and one of the more anticipated movies, one of the prime things that we wanted to discuss on this channel this month was Twisters, the long-awaited, sometimes much maligned, we didn't know what we were getting, sequel / reboot / whatever to the 1996 classic. Here to talk about it with me, of course, are my very good friends, starting with my head of life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
Well, I think Casey now just likes to sit and wait and be the first one in line because he thinks he's one of the cool ones that gets the first comment on any video or any picture. So not only do we have an outbreak of tornadoes, but we have an outbreak of Casey's. So thanks for that, though. So you're pushing up the algorithm. So all you're doing is really helping us. So thanks for that, buddy.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you putting this out there, man. Appreciate it.
I'm sure that's his intention all along. I'm sure.
Probably. Oh yeah. Why do you think I'm putting his face in a T-shirt? I appreciate it. But
you can always trust a guy with his face on a T-shirt.
Totally. And then, of course, from down south, the shape of Lone Star State, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
Well, as the official hillbilly on this YouTube channel, I have to warn everybody to put your harnesses on, for Christ's sake. We're driving through a tornado here. Come on now. So.
I've never wanted to drive myself in the middle of a tornado more in my life. It's like doing it with Bill Paxton would have been great, but it's like, I don't know. Him in this movie with Glen Powell in this movie, I can see myself doing that. But let's get right down to why we are here. We are here to talk about Twisters. This is the 2024 American disaster film directed by Lee Isaac Chung from a screenplay by Mark Smith, based on a story by Joseph Kosinski. Serving as a standalone sequel to Twister from 1996, the film stars Daisy Edgar-Jones, Glen Powell, Anthony Ramos, Brandon Perea, Maura Tierney. God, I always get her name. As many times as I've said her name, I can never feel like I'm saying it right. And Sasha Lane. The story follows a group of storm chasers who attempt to launch barrels of sodium polyacrylate, wow, that was tough, into a tornado with the goal of reducing its intensity. Twisters premiered at Cineworld in London on July 8th and was released in the United States on July 19th. The film received generally positive reviews from critics and has grossed $124 million worldwide as of yesterday, against a reported budget of $155 to $200 million. On the review website Rotten Tomatoes, 78% of 285 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 6.8 out of 10. The website's consensus review reads, quote, "Summoning a storm of spectacle and carried along by the gale force winds of Glen Powell's charisma, Twister's forecast is splendid with a high chance of thrills." I get what they did there, making it out like it was some kind of weather report. But, let's get right down to it. I'll go to you first, Tex. Give me your quick thoughts on Twisters, then we'll get into the breakdown.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect going into this, I got to be honest with you. Obviously we just covered the first Twisters. We're all big fans of it, and I kind of went in just hoping for a good film, and it's it's a mixed bag for me. It was some good, some bad, but overall it was a fun one. It was great soundtrack, awesome truck, by the way. I am now officially deeming that Dodge as the redneck Batmobile, because that thing can do anything. By God, that thing is an awesome truck. So I need one of those. It was good. It wasn't. I don't know if I'd buy it physically, but I look forward to breaking it down. I do have questions, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? This is one of the movies that we both have an affinity for the original, for Bill Paxton, for this film. We were both kind of curious as to what we were going to get out of this. We were able to experience it together the other night. You gave your thoughts in our quick breakdown, but give me some quick thoughts now.
I think I can agree with Tex on this one. I'm not really sure what I was expecting, but honestly, I didn't think it was a bad movie. It was a pretty fun ride. It had, it had like the thrill and, obviously like, the thrill of the chase. That's the whole point of it. And the thing I always say about sequels, if anyone has been around long enough, I say do something big, go bigger, do something crazy. And in my mind, I put this into the category of like Jurassic Park, and what I mean by that is I'm like, yeah, you tell me sciencey things that sound like they make sense, and I'm like, yeah, I mean dinosaurs that could happen. Yeah, you could take DNA out of a mosquito that's a couple million years old, and sure, you want to put diaper absorbent crap into a tornado and it chokes the moisture and it kills the storm. Okay, I mean, I believe you. Sure, I don't care. Sounds like a fun movie to me. And I also agree. I want one of those trucks. I don't really care.
Oh, dude, that truck is freaking amazing! Like, my God, I was having. Oh, yeah, it was great.
Said go bigger. I'm like, yeah, we all love. I mean, rest in peace to Joe's first truck, the yellow one that took a smack into the ground. But we all love Bill's red truck. But I mean, I'm like, that's kind of one of the iconic things about this movie is the red Dodge truck. And
dude, the second I got home, I wanted to put augers on the bottom of my truck.
That's what I'm
just
saying.
because. Like,
now, like you said, like Tex just said, this is a redneck Batmobile. He souped the crap.
It was. That's what it was. It could do anything. Yeah, it's great.
I'm like, this thing is badass. I love it. Like, I don't get tired of watching him. I genuinely believe like that would be that much fun to just tear through the fields of Oklahoma with this fucking truck. And then just sink it in the ground and just, shoot some.
Yeah.
I did the thing. Shoot some rockets up in a tornado. Why not?
Yeah, shooting fireworks into the active tornado is one of the cool. I don't know why I didn't think of it a long time ago. Why nobody's
that's
doing
just
this.
Cool.
Like, I was like, okay, I'm into this movie now. I'm kind of like, yeah, like you guys.
I do have questions. I do have questions as well. Like you said, I'm sure we're about to get into it.
Yeah, like you guys, it wasn't that I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I kind of didn't, but I didn't know what I wanted. Because I remember, like in the days leading up to this, I was kind of asking myself, do I want this to be a straight up sequel? Do I want to see a quick cameo to find out that Helen Hunt's character is actually her mother, or that her and Bill finally had a kid, and whatever? Do I want to see that? Or do I want to see something separate? And as I was sitting down, it was kind of like, I just want to see something good. I want to see something that's got the same spirit. I'm going to try to temper my expectations because I don't want my expectations to ruin my experience if the movie is still good. I don't want to say, oh, I didn't do this thing that I was expecting, so now I think the movie's lesser. No, I finally turned off all those expectations. I was like, I'm just going to watch it. Whatever they put on the frame, that's what I'm going to watch. I'm going to enjoy it.
So you're telling me you didn't just like you were going to lean over to me before the movie started? You're like, dude, what if it sucks?
What if it sucks?
That would have been a great pun, and then you could have gotten it. What if it sucks?
I feel like we should say that about every movie at this point. We should just lean over to and be like, dude, what if this movie sucks?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? What are we going to say afterwards? How are we going to review this?
Because you said, would you say standalone sequel? I was like, what the hell does that even mean? What?
I don't know anymore.
What the fuck is that? That seems like an oxymoron. That seems redundant.
We need to make that a thing. We need to make that a thing.
I suppose
standalone Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, the reboot. I'm like, yeah, they were making fun of that whole deal. I'm like,
I suppose standalone sequel is supposed to be another way of saying anthology. Because like all the Cloverfield movies, while they're not directly connected to one another, J.J. Abrams always calls them anthology films. Like they're in the same, they're in the same family of films. But they don't have anything to do with one another. It's like so they're separate movies. They're separate movies. That's the whole thing. But even Tarantino was trying to connect his movies though. There's little things inside Tarantino's movies that kind of connect them all.
The one thing that connects them all is the same brand of cigarettes, is the Red Apple cigarettes. Like everyone in every movie smoked that same cigarette in the same universe.
What if? And I'm stealing that from over here. What if Dorothy is a multi-dimensional transporting device as well as a storm tracker? And if you turn it on, you jump to different times in the Twister-verse, and you just get different versions of the story.
Oh, see, we just gave you the premise for part 3.
There you go.
Twister reverse.
Twisterverse. Let's get it going.
We'll make the last Z or sort of Twister as a 3. That's like 3.
As it's like blowing away, the letters gradually just kind of float off.
And then a 3 remains. Just, I don't know. We'll think of something. But let's get into it now. Not really a whole lot to go into about the director. I didn't really put it on here, but I mean, the only thing he's done that I think any of us have seen, I'm pretty sure Jeremy has seen anyway, is he did one of the season 3 episodes of Mandalorian, which it wasn't the one with Jack Black and Lizzo. It was actually one of the better ones.
I was going to say,
like
was it the one?
No, it was not that episode that kind of set us back about 3 episodes. But I went and looked at the episode. I was like, all right, I remember that episode. I remember that being a fairly decent episode. He's really done that and this. He's done a lot of smaller stuff. So he's just getting his start out in directing. I mean, do you think this was a solid effort overall, Jay? I mean, is this a good start for him?
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't hate the movie. I thought it was still a fun thrill ride, and it, like I said, it upped the ante and definitely upped some of the. Like I don't ever mind when you try to modernize it a little bit, and the fact that, like I said, now he's got all those cool. You see the truck there. He's got the rocket tubes on the side of the truck. He's got instrumentations on it. They got the big trailer. He's probably staying in front of it. Like there's 2 big augers on either side that like anchor it to the ground. And you still got the convoy of people. You got like one girl who's in the back seat, like with a drone and a VR headset, like watching the storm. I'm like, okay, this is cool, and it still makes it fun. And like you can still follow it. So like I said, in terms of for a movie, yeah, I think this was well done. Like I said, I didn't. My only negatives are like I said, I'll get into some of these questions of like, hey, is that connected? Sure. Can you explain it? No, absolutely not.
No.
Okay.
Not that easy.
I just. Like, if you're going to dangle the keys in front of my face, at least, like, let me know which car we're getting in to go for a ride, because I'm left here just, like, wondering. I don't know.
Tex, how about you? What did you think about the job the director did for this film? Was it a good start for him, do you think?
Well, that's one of my things about this movie. There are certain aspects of this film that I love. I love, like Jeremy just touched on, the whole team, kind of how you had like the one team of the uptight hoity-toity guys with the tucked-in shirts. Then you had the mixed bag of heathens over here that are just having fun, cutting loose on a YouTube channel. That was a lot of fun to me. I like how they took that aspect from the original Twister and updated it with the YouTube stuff. I liked that. All of the tornado stuff was great. What I found most odd in this is they hid a girl boss movie within a Twister film. Like, to me, like how he told this story, like Glen Powell's character, like he starts off as this wild, crazy guy. He's awesome. He's the strong male lead. And then the second he's getting preached at and yelled at by Kate in the barn, he automatically just bitches out the rest of the movie. Like, complete character tonal change for the rest of the film. So I don't know why he chose to do that with this. That's my biggest problem within it. And then I'll get to the ending later, but he did okay. I mean, he didn't, I've never seen any of his other work, but I guess it wasn't too bad.
He doesn't really have much other work. Like I said, he's done some smaller films and that was The Mandalorian. So this is kind of his coming out party as far as the blockbusters are concerned.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, big budget movies, your first time you get one, and this is one, 155 to 200 million. It can be kind of daunting your first time out. There's so much, if you feel like there's so much more at stake. It's one thing to play poker for $20 with your friends. It's another thing for somebody to give you $50,000 and say, okay, go ahead and buy into this high stakes game. The pressure turns into something different. And I don't think there was a lot of things that went into it. For one, he's actually from Oklahoma. He grew up in that area. So this is a subject that has probably been something that's been literally right in front of him for most of his life, having grown up in the area that has to deal with tornadoes on the regular. He switched from some other line of work that he was studying for into filmmaking because he just got really into it. He wanted to tell an accurate story with these cool characters. And not to mention, the other thing that you can't overlook for him as far as the director is concerned is now maybe when Glen Powell was cast in this, he wasn't quite Glen Powell yet, but now that he has fully arrived and he is like the next thing that's going to blow up in Hollywood, I would imagine that directing somebody who's going to be the next leading guy, the next big Hollywood hunk, has got to be a little intimidating on its own, because you don't want to make the film that's so bad it derails somebody's entire career. You know what I mean? So
Right.
so I feel like, he didn't succumb to some of these pressures that a young director might succumb to when you hand him $200 million and say make a movie. He told a pretty interesting story, I thought. Not to mention, you're not just making a movie for $200 million. You're making one of these legacy movies. It's not just twisters. It's in the spirit of the sequel, the remake, whatever you want to call it. They're always going to compare this movie to the original, and you have to know that going in, to say to yourself, you know what, I'm just going to make a movie that's fucking awesome that I would love to see, and not try to bound myself to expectations of the first movie or to any specific thing about the first movie. I think that's one of the best decisions he made, was just to make this his own film, to pay proper respect to the original in spots, but to ultimately make this his movie and not to operate under some template from a movie that was made 30 years ago. That was probably the best thing that he could have done in this movie. So, I'm interested to see what he does. I don't know what he's got coming up. I didn't see anything on IMDb that really jumped at me that's coming up. I thought he did a pretty good job.
One thing I can praise the director on, which the main thing that worried me going into this was, okay, we know so many films have like a woke kind of ideology within them. And I thought, green technology and cleaning up the ozone or whatever the crap is that they want to call it. I thought this is the perfect vehicle for them to push some kind of climate change nonsense with. But he didn't do that in this movie. There was that one line where they're at the farm where they talk about, the shortage of fertilizer and food, which is a common deal among people who live in this world, he handled that correctly. He didn't get preachy with it. He didn't go over the top. It felt natural. It felt real. So I do have to give him kudos for that. I will say that much.
But let's go on to the plot now. I mean, again, it's chasing tornadoes. That's what these people do. But they did change a few things from the original film, so it's not just like a carbon copy or a shot-for-shot remake. Jeremy, what do you think of the overall plot of the film? Did it work for you? Is there anything you would have changed?
No, yeah, it worked for me. Like I said, it's the whole reason they were chasing the tornadoes in the first place in the first movie was to help people have an earlier warning system, because it's still kind of a thing. Like, tornadoes are just kind of terrifying. They do just be popping up out of nowhere. I think the scene at the rodeo in this movie, if you know what I'm talking about, that shit's real. Like, that just comes up and it's like, oh,
I've lived that experience. I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, tornadoes like to they're the jump scares of weather, I think, really. So it kind of made sense. It kind of made sense. You're like, okay, we want to have something that if we better understood this thing that we really don't know anything about, which they still mention in this movie. They're like, it's part, like you said, it's part science, it's part mystery, it's part religion. We really don't know. So this one then was like, okay, so is there a way to then possibly prevent something like this, or at least try to slow it down so it doesn't, do as much damage as it could if it was left to its own devices? Excuse me, which I thought was pretty cool. Like I said, it had I'm not a scientist, I'm not a weather expert. What she said she was doing, I don't understand cloud physics, so I'm not going to say that I know whether or not this would work. Even if I had that truck, I don't know if I would exactly drive it into a tornado to find out. But but yeah, no, it was fun. It had I thought the cold open was pretty fucking, well, it was pretty cold. That tornado was pretty relentless. I wasn't expecting everyone except for her to just straight up die. Spoilers, sorry. People know this movie.
You gotta be honest. I was so happy when that first crew died. I hated every single one of those characters, and I have no good reason why. I was like, oh, thank God we don't have a movie with these people. I was so happy about that. I gotta be honest.
Okay, now that he's done shaking his cane at the younger people for the fact that they're young. Granted, one of them does look like somebody I used to work with who I would absolutely want to punch in the fucking face and not stop until she stopped breathing, but for legal reasons, that's a joke.
Oh.
But it didn't really it's like it had enough to get you attached. You're like, oh yeah, these are good friends, and then oh crap, they all died. Well, except for two of them, rather, not just her. So I was like, damn, it gives you your motivation, kind of the same way that the first one did. It's like, it starts off with a big tornado and an EF5, instead of it taking like Joe's dad being probably her whole catalyst that gets her into this. It's like, this Kate lost like her boyfriend and two of her close friends to this tornado, just trying to, prove a scientific, method, see if it could work. And sure, I don't know if those big scanners exist, whatever military BS thing they happen to have. But again, it's like with Jurassic Park, I'm like, sure, I don't care. Can you make dinosaurs? I don't know, but I will accept the plot and move forward with watching people getting eaten off of toilets by a T-Rex, So, yeah, it worked for me.
Yeah, JL on YouTube is saying Twister was better than Twisters. We're gonna make a comparison of the two movies a bit later on, so I won't get too much into that one.
Yeah, it's not.
And the water's wet and the sky's blue.
But I don't know, Tex, what do you think? Plot? Is there anything you want to change, or were you okay with the way they presented everything?
If you really wanted to boil this down, they made a film about bad weather and throwing Pampers and shooting bottle rockets into it. I dig it. I can go with something like that. That's the most simple. Like if you were to tell your friends what's this movie about, you could say, well, it got cloudy and they threw diapers in the air and shot it with bottle rockets. By God, stuff. Yeah, no. Let's be honest. Does this kind of movie really need a plot? Just as like now, one thing I do have to plot wise, this movie actually steals from one of the later Sharknadoes. I believe it's 5 or 6. I can't remember, but in Sharknado 5 or 6, there is an oil nado, which this film has. Whenever they hit the oil refinery at the end of the movie, and there's all that oil and shit in it, and fire, and there's a fire nado in Sharknado. So Sharknado needs to get its credit on the tornado movie. Just wanted to throw that in for free. But plot wise, it works. It's a tornado movie. You're coming here to see crap get destroyed, and I think I just killed some chickens. It's all about the cheesy one-liners, the interesting characters, and just enough plot to hold the story together. It works. Is the science accurate? I have no idea. I'm not a scientist. I don't know, nor do I care. But we didn't get cows, but we got chickens, so I guess that's something.
And for all you 90s and early 2000s kids, it's cow and chicken. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
That is true. That was a good show.
Yeah,
it was a show for sure. I don't know if it was good, but it was a show.
Yeah, I thought they changed just enough about the plot to help make it its own entity, because it's like you could have just said, okay, it's another movie about chasing tornadoes. They changed the science of it. They changed the character angles enough, because you could have just made Glen Powell's character just like Carrie Elwes' character in the first movie, that he's the bad guy. I liked they kind of eliminated the idea of the bad guy in this and made the tornado the weather the primary villain. One of the things I've always liked about Star Trek 4, I love my Star Trek, is the villain in that movie wasn't the Klingons, the Romulans. It wasn't a proper antagonist. It was this thing that just exists. It just is. It was nature itself. How do you look at nature and be like, no, don't do this, you're not supposed to, when nature is just doing what nature does? It doesn't have that kind of knowledge or insight of what's going on. It's just doing what nature does. And that's kind of what this is. The tornado doesn't know that it's tearing up these towns in Oklahoma. The tornado doesn't know that people are dying. The tornado is just this action of nature doing what nature does. And if you happen to be in its way, it's like the Hulk. If you happen to be in its way, you're going to get broke up. you're gonna get torn down.
I think we made that point. You never seen it come after this house and then come after you. Is that what you think it did?
So not having that Carrie Elwes character to kind of like focus some of the anger on, it really does put more of the focus on the natural thing that just does what it does. It doesn't have any animosity or even thoughts. It's not a living thing necessarily, however you look at Mother Nature. But it's something different. You're always just reacting to it, and you still have to respect your enemy in a way when you're fighting nature that you can't respect the enemy who's just standing across you with a sword or a gun and you guys are about to do battle. I mean, yes, you respect him, of course, if you're a decent warrior, but but still, I mean, there's a different level of respect. You look at this thing, and one of the things I really like about this movie actually is so many times it's like stuff like this. This stuff is happening, and they're looking at it. Now, this is not an actual scene from the movie. This is, I mean, there was a scene of them standing there. There was a tornado in the distance, but when they see these things, they look at these things with a certain reverence. They look at these things with not quite a love, but a certain respect, a certain awe, a certain wonder. Like, because let's face it, the whole reason why these people are doing this thing is because they're trying to understand what makes this thing and how it's gonna act and what it's gonna do. They're trying to understand more about it than they understand in the beginning. That's the whole point. So that's why it's not having a traditional bad guy, a traditional antagonist. I thought did this movie very well. We'll talk about the science a little bit later on, but let's get into the part that I actually skipped because I was looking too far ahead in my notes. It's the cast. I mean, not quite the cast of the original movie. Let's be honest. It's not quite the same, but I still thought the cast, they hit on all cylinders. Tex, what do you think of the cast of the movie overall, and who stood out to you the most?
Well, Frank, I hate to tell you, but I think Glen Powell's going to happen. So you're going to have to deal with that however you do.
I think he's also
think
the minority. Glen Powell's already happened. Just
Yeah.
let go, man.
Yeah,
The future is now, old man.
I think you're just going to have to make your pace with it because whatever. But he actually, as cool as that character was, hold right there, my boy Boone right there. That dude made the movie for me. We did not get enough Boone in this film, by God. I mean, he's a simple, good old boy that just wants to blow shit up and listen to loud music. What's not to love about that kind of guy? Like he gets upset when he doesn't get took on a tornado chase. You know, he was kind of the irreverent, best friend, whatever figure in this film that a movie like this needs because it's fun. You don't have to worry about anything serious with him. You just enjoy the time on the screen. And, when he's hanging out the window, loading rockets in the truck and he's still singing along with the music that they're playing along. Like I thought just the little touches like that were so much fun. I could imagine friends I grew up with very similar to that. Yeah, Boone was definitely my go-to.
Jay, what do you think? Again, not hardly compared to the cast of the original film, but still some really great bright spots in this. What do you think of the cast overall, and who stood out to you the most?
I think the cast still worked. Kind of going back a little bit, we talked about like we kind of had the, so-called good guys and bad guys with the original one. I'm like, it's funny that this one it's like you're in with like Kate's friends, and again, they all seem pretty genuine with one another, and then you have her one friend who remains, Javier, and it's funny because I'm like, oh, he's not really Carrie Ellis, but I'm like, he's the tech guy. He's got all the fancy tools and money and stuff. So it's funny that we kind of started from that angle with, just because that was her old friend from school. And then you get the ones like Glen Powell's character of Tyler and, his little band of misfits who just kind of like to have fun with it. And it kind of goes the opposite way, which I thought was kind of cool. And I think it was kind of a hard one. You had a picture where the girl who runs the drone, I don't remember her name.
She was great.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty cool. Because like that, I mean, now we're going backwards again. That scene where they're walking through that town. Because I think the thing that was cool about her, it was like that was kind of that moment where the movie's kind of shifting tone. You can kind of already tell that, like, again, I told you, don't ever trust some cowboy in the little string tie and the hat who keeps showing up every time a fucking storm rolls through.
Watch out for the bolo ties. You gotta watch out for those.
I'm just saying. So the movie starts to take that little turn, and she was the first one that like offered that olive branch to Kate. She like just offered her, hey, you want some food? And then she doesn't quite get it yet. And she's like, no, man, I don't have any cash. She's like, no, it's free. Like, that's what we sell the stuff for. We give free food out and we help people. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, and she's like, oh no, we'll save it then. She's like, all right, cool. See ya. Like, stay safe. Like, that was cool. But I think honestly, the Kate's mom was my favorite character because she had me laughing every damn time she said something. If that's not a good picture, that's the greatest picture right there. Clutching a beer, staring at him.
I've seen her. I don't know what, but I've seen her in other stuff, but I cannot place it. But she has one of those faces I remember, and I don't know where.
She was in ER for a long time. She's been all over.
I don't know where I've seen her
since the '90s. She's been in so much stuff.
Yeah,
ER was a big thing she was in when Clooney and all them like ER was at its peak. She was on that show.
Yeah, but she it's like, oh, so you guys cool? Stay for dinner? You want to eat outside? Oh, he's not staying. Okay, he's staying. So what time you guys want to eat? You know what I mean? Like she didn't care. She knew what she was doing. So, yeah, the mom was, I think, by far probably one of the funniest characters.
When she holds up the shirt, like she holds up the shirt, looks just like seriously.
I love that they had that moment where she did like Kate just shrugs at her like, "Don't ask, man," and they drive off. She's like, "Oh, dear God, man."
I hope you know what you're getting into.
Like, you sure you know what you're like? You know what you're getting into, and like I kind of want to ask her, I'm like, do you realize what you're going to get into now?
Right.
Give you one of those god awful shirts. No, that's where I'm going to stay. Kind of a toss up for me on this one.
Again, I can't knock the cast too much for a couple reasons. Number one, you were never going to, especially knowing that Alan Ruck having already been on like Ferris Bueller and a bunch of other stuff. He'd already had his career. He was in Speed. I mean, he was great. Philip Seymour Hoffman going on to do what he was going to do, becoming one of the great actors of a generation. Then, of course, Paxton and Helen Hunt and Carrie Elwes and everything. So you were never going to be able to stand up to that easily. So I think they did the right thing by saying, we're just going to find some people that fit well together and have fun, and they kind of help build what we want to display that this world is. And I think they did that very, very well. The one thing that disappoints me about the cast is that I was not nearly as wrapped up in Daisy Edgar-Jones's character as I wanted to be. I didn't feel attached to her the way that I felt attached to Helen Hunt. It's like even after that opening scene where the tornado that they're dealing with wipes out all but her and Herbert and Ramos' characters, I didn't really feel that attached to her. I mean, I understood her motivation. That was clear, and I got it for the story. Between her and Helen Hunt, I just didn't feel it. I thought she was probably the third or fourth most interesting character in this movie. I mean, and that's probably even behind the tornadoes. I mean, it's like, and I wanted to like her more. I really wanted her to be what drove this film, the way that in many ways Helen Hunt drove the first film. I mean, Bill Paxton was definitely always kind of just playing the other side of Helen Hunt's character. So while he's a big part of the movie and it does help carry the movie, the original film really does center around Jo. It's all about her demons, her motivation to try to do this because of what happened to her. That was really kind of what the whole movie centered around. And Bill was really just along for the ride. He was that other emotional beat, that romance that you had to add into it. So I wanted that from her, and I just don't think I got that from her in this movie. I'm not saying that she was bad. I'm not saying her performance was bad. I'm just saying I really thought that her character should have been what drove this, but ultimately it ended up being Glen Powell. And maybe that was an accident because Glen Powell has become Glen Powell. I mean, after Hitman and Top Gun and all the other stuff he's got into, his star is rising so high so fast that I don't think there's any way you can put him on camera and him not steal scenes by accident.
He's gonna be in a DC movie soon, so we'll be watchful on that too.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just read something today that Glen Powell had said that he has a start date on his calendar for Top Gun 3.
No, I'm talking like DC Comics. Like,
oh, yeah,
him, James Gunn. He started, like, all of these people started following each other on the social medias, and any movie fan.
A lot of that is just
that is. Now,
Hollywood is just like Washington, D.C. It's a networking town. You got to know people to get to the right.
I'm not saying it's not networking, but if you've ever paid attention to any time that starts happening, these people start popping up. So what Glen Powell plays in the DC universe, I don't know.
I guarantee that both DC and Marvel have an eye on him. But all I know is right now that they've already got. Said he's already got a start date, potential start date for filming of Top Gun 3, which that makes me just fine. But yeah, I mean, he really runs this film. But I'm with Jeremy. One of the people who stood out to me most was Maura Tierney. Because the one thing that this movie was kind of lacking was the emotion that I wasn't getting from Daisy Edgar-Jones's character. I was wrapped up and entertained by all this stuff with Glen Powell. I was figuring out exactly what Anthony Ramos's character's motivation was. Is he after money? Is he after the science? I mean, I think he was I think his intentions were overall good by the end of the movie. But it's like she's the one that gave that movie a bit of an emotional balance when it really needed it, going into like the final stretch and into the part of the third act where everything was going to resolve itself. I really like what she did for the story, what she did for the movie. I've liked her for a long time. Again, she's one of those women that is aging, but she still looks absolutely gorgeous. That's like she is still intimidatingly beautiful.
Oh, she looked good.
And so even with some of the age lines, she's like,
in the eye either.
Oh yeah, she's intimidatingly beautiful and has been forever. And I thought that her character grounded that movie in a way that it very badly needed it when they rolled up into her house. It kind of brought everything into perspective. And I like the fact that she was just kind of there to mediate this kind of meeting of these two people's minds as they were, sitting over the computer figuring out how are we going to do what we're going to do. Because, I mean, Glen Powell, for his character anyway, for all of his education in meteorology, he's really just there to get clicks. I mean, he's a click whore.
Yeah.
Well, so while he understands the science, he doesn't really have any desire other than I'm going to get some badass footage of me in a tornado with my badass redneck Batmobile and I'm going to put it online. I'm going to make $1 bajillion on YouTube views. Whereas she's just like, I don't care about the money. I want to stop these damn tornadoes. She kind of mediates that moment where both these two minds come together for this one important goal that is really supposed to be the focus of the movie anyway. So I thought she did a great job of that. And there's, like I said, there's something about you get a woman who delivers dialogue with just the right tone, just the right expression. It's a work, dude. It's art. It's somebody that just draws you in. I mean, like I said, she's been doing it for a long time now with some pretty heavy shit. ER for years, a bunch of other movies. I just thought she was a perfect character to come into the movie at just the right time to kind of ground a little bit and refocus its energy. You know what I mean? What were you saying, Tex?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like put that picture up of the three of them there in the barn. That like right before that scene when Glen Powell discovers all of her research and everything else. It's like prior to that point, Glen Powell he's the badass. He's a main character in this film. And then once that scene happens, he becomes nothing but fodder for Kate's story. And to me, like, I agree with you completely. Kate was not the most interesting character in this film, but they take Tyler and just basically make him he's how she's going to get this other thing done, when his part of the film was the most entertaining part, not her. I mean, yes, I understand this is a emotionally driven story piece of, we start with her and her friends, and that's the center point. I understand that completely, but that's not the best part of the film. For sure, there's another edit of this film where it's skewed a little more differently. I think it would have played better because, I mean, the girl that plays Kate did fine. She's just a very boring character to me, and especially, like I said, I can't wait to get to the ending. I've got big problems with that, but Javi was a great character that he just all of the characters around her just kind of play little bits and pieces to fund her story, and to me, she's not interesting enough to deserve all of that. That's my biggest problem with it.
I don't think him kind of coming into what she was trying to do was a bad thing. Because if you think about it, they both have the same skill set. They both know how to chase tornadoes, how to read the weather, and do all the stuff that Bill was so famous for doing in the first movie. They both have that exact skill set. The difference is they're both focused on different things. She's focused on the science stuff, and he's focused on getting the clicks. And when this moment comes up in the movie, it serves as a point in the story where both those people with this intellect and this skill set get focused on the same thing. And I think that what this scene does, it serves to reignite his interest in the actual science and meteorology of it all, as opposed to just putting some badass videos up on YouTube to get clicks and sell merch. That's where things change for him. As far as not being centered on her the whole time until this moment, that was one of my real problems with the movie. Is it should have been a focus on her the whole time. He should have been a secondary character, not exactly the way Bill was in the second one, because he is definitely one half of the equation in that movie. But he should have been a secondary character that should have helped her achieve her goal, which he eventually does. But like I said, the problem comes not from anything that the actors and the director did, it just comes from the fact that Glen Powell is so fucking big now. Whenever he's on camera, he's going to chew up screen time. He all the eyes are going to go to him, whether, you know, the guys for obvious reasons because they want to be him, girls for obvious reasons because they want to be with him. He's one of those people that he sucks the air out of the off the screen when he comes in. So it gets kind of lost in that moment, the fact that everybody's getting googly-eyed over good-looking Glen Powell, that with the moment where the story kind of coalesces and everybody gets focused into the end goal, kind of gets lost in all
that. It wasn't even just Glen Powell that I'm so much talking about. It was his team. My favorite part of the original Twisters movie, besides the drive-in scene, is all of the interesting characters and how much time you get to spend with them. I would have liked to have seen more with, you know, that with Glen Powell's team. All of they kind of show up and then they disappear just to pop up right before the end. I would have focused more on them. To me, that was where the money was for this story. And like I said, I know this was a Kate story and everything else, and they were just the characters, the interesting characters that they find along the way. But to me, they were the most fun part of the movie. And I think the movie would have been better focusing on that. But, you know, they went otherwise. So what you want to do?
I think it ended up working out pretty well. I mean, there were some narrative things I might have done a little bit differently. There were some dialogue things I would have done a little bit differently. One of the things I definitely would have done was Anthony Ramos's character. Like when she finds out that he's working for the billionaire guy and stuff like that, gets kind of pissed off. If I were them, because he's not a bad guy. I mean, he's not doing this for the wrong reason. Sure, he's giving data to this guy that he's going to make a bunch of money on, but the reality is, he's getting something very important out of it as well. He's getting the data from the storms and that's going to help with early warnings, help with this, that, and the other thing. He could have very easily explained to her when she figures out what's going on, that he's just saying, look, yes, I'm taking money from this guy. Yes, he's making a bunch of money off these tornadoes, but this is the means to an end. This is facilitating us getting the data that we've always wanted to get so that we can stop or somehow affect these tornadoes in a way to where they're not going to be as damaging. And at the end of the day, he's spending his money on stuff that's going to help him when long term, we're going to put him out of business. So he's spending money on putting himself out of business because we're going to try to figure out a way to make these things less deadly or give us some warning or whatever. That was a perfect opportunity for him to explain that to her, and he didn't. And I feel like him making that kind of face turn at the end where he bails on the future Superman, David Cornsweet, and leaves him out there in the middle of the fucking storm. I guess a tornado, by the way, which I thought was hilarious.
This might have been an origin for an evil Superman. I was like, tornado involved too.
Yeah, not only do I disagree with you, but I'm going to leave you out here in the middle of an Oklahoma cornfield while the tornado's buried.
That was dirty.
Good luck. I'm pretty sure you can catch a murder charge for something like that, but it's like that face turn would have been more. I think it would have been more emotional and hit harder had he at least tried to explain his piece. But he just kind of like, she gets mad and he's like, whatever, and doesn't really defend himself at all. And then she goes away, goes to her mom's house, and then you never really. There wasn't a point where you wanted to look at her and be like, but he is doing something. You don't agree with what he's doing, but there is an end result to this that is going to be positive for what you want. And maybe she's just doesn't understand it because she still harbors these feelings about what happened at the beginning of the movie, harbors these feelings about what the emotion of what she was seeing in the moment with this town being destroyed by a tornado, her not knowing how her shit's going to go. I mean, I think that would have helped the emotional level of that moment if he would have tried to explain that to her. I think that was just a piece of dialogue that should have been there, and it wouldn't have added any more time to the movie. It's just rewriting, 10 seconds of a scene. I think it would have made a big difference to me, but. Whatever. It didn't take away from the overall movie experience for me. I just think it would have helped that one moment where he makes his face turn, leaves Superman out there to get eaten up by the tornado, and then runs to help them in the town.
Kevin Costner, what are you doing here?
Hey, that's what I was going to say. We, for all the shit that James Gunn's talking about, we're doing DC new and differently and everything else. Well, your Superman's still getting his tornadoes going on, buddy. So, for all you Henry Cavill haters, I don't want to hear shit out of y'all. Superman still doing the same shit. So.
He's up there flying around the tornado and comes across Kevin Costner. He's like, "What are you doing up here?" He goes, "Don't worry, I got Yellowstone out of this roll." And then they just fly. The tornado turns apart.
Hey, Kevin Costner's too worried about not losing his shirt on that Horizon crap that he walked away from Yellowstone from, whatever. So what you gonna do?
But let's talk about the effects now. I mean, look, one of the staples of the first movie was some killer effects that have aged well over time. The effects of this movie, Jeremy, what do you think? Did they hold up? Were they good or bad? What do you think of the effects of the film?
I didn't think they were bad. I mean, I can still, like we said, like with the original ones, and I guess again, this is another Jurassic Park thing I can say. I'm like, yeah, you know what? The effects even from those movies still hold up well. If you really try to look at it, you're like, yeah, it looks a little weird. But I mean, we can make some of these clouds rotations and some of these, especially the shot where they go up real high and you see like the middle of that cap just collapse inwards. I was like, okay, that was pretty cool to see. There was some more things that were a little more refined, and that right there. I mean, not only shooting fireworks, but shooting literal fire into a tornado. Like that's scary as it is. So it looked pretty cool. I think the only thing I could really knock for effects is there's a couple. I think like that picture you showed of the two of them staring at a tornado off in the distance. There were some shots like that like it's like like that where you can kind of tell like it's a little bit of awkward green screen, but nothing that really took me out because I'm just like, okay, looks weird. But hey, the sky turns green when tornadoes come, so whatever. You can kind of get away with it. Practical effects. I mean, wind and a lot of bullshit just coming down. When you collapse the whole water tower, it's like, I know that's CGI, but I'm kind of caught in a moment like, oh god, there is a water tower that is about to like instantly crush you to your death. So, oh shit. I agree with. I think JL's the one talking about it. This did feel a lot of like Cloverfield, like shaky cam, like okay, but I want to be able to see it a little bit. I understand when they're like literally, as Glen Powell said, we're shooting shit right up its ass. I'm like, I understand if you're in the tornado, it's gonna be all over the place. But there's something about some of those shots from the old movie that they did right, where like you're seeing them go in the truck for that first tornado. They're in that ditch, and then it just over in the distance, you can see it, and you can see it just kind of roaring towards them over that farm. And the effect they did in that movie is like it's like as it gets it's not the same tornado, but as it gets closer, the camera shakes a little more and more and more and more and more as it gets like right closer and goes past. And you get some more like glorious shots of it coming towards you. If your point was to make it seem chaotic, I mean, well done. That is, and like I said, with like the rodeo scene, it does feel chaotic because it just kind of happens and you have no time to think, and you gotta don't be that girl in the hotel who's like, it's not a tornado. She comes crashing.
9 times out of 10, it's not a tornado.
She's probably still screaming at as she goes up in the truck, which you got what you deserved, but like, still, don't be that girl.
That chick is.
I don't want to give you a bad review. Come on now.
She was definitely one of the people like out there just chasing Tyler around to go just to see it. She doesn't understand that shit's real. I think the effects were good. Just a couple awkward green screen shots for me, which doesn't really bug me. So that was fun.
I don't know. Tex, what do you think about the effects? Were they good, bad, or otherwise? What do you think?
Well, I mean, as with all films, it's a mixed bag. Overall, I thought it wasn't bad. Yeah, it was dark in some of the shots, but it kind of works. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all have ever been to a rodeo in the middle of nowhere, like on a Saturday night, but like the only lighting that's usually around is the arena lights. So if something's happening, right, like most rodeos don't happen in like the downtown district where there's, street lighting everywhere you go. So, I mean, I don't mind that. Now, one thing I can say is I saw this movie on a drive-in screen and on a regular theater screen. And on the drive-in screen, the effects did not look as great because of the setting being outside. So the darkness was a negative on that. But in a controlled environment, I thought it was great. To me, the shots that worked best were obviously the rodeo scene, especially when the tornado's ripping through the arena and everything else. And then, when they're in the swimming pool and that horse trailer just gets chunked down in there in the middle of everything else. That was nuts. And then, of course, the ending where I love the trolley just fucking off through town. Like, holy shit, what's going on? Like, oh my, like that was terrifying. Like, oh my god, get out of the way. Whatever. And of course, the water tower CGI. It was what it was. But you know what? It's a disaster movie. I expect to see things like that. Overall, I'd give it a passing grade. I thought it was good. Effects wise, some of the shots, like the one you showed of them watching the tornado go by, that could have been polished up a little better, I think, maybe. But overall, nothing real worrying for me CGI wise in this movie. I thought it was pretty good.
If I may interject for a quick second, I will admit, man, right after that first scene happened, and she's like by herself, just walking down the road, just disheveled, bloody, and dirty. I was like, if you didn't tell me that was
a horror movie.
That is some horror movie shit.
Yeah,
that is her just walking back through that destruction, and then the cop cars coming in frame. I was like, that is a horror movie shot. Oh my god!
I remember thinking that too.
Like her leg is cut, her leg is cut up in like 6 inches down. Like Jesus, man. I was like, okay.
You could take that shot of her walking with the bloody leg as a poster and put Friday the 13th, Halloween, any of these slasher franchises on the bottom of that poster, you'd believe she was the final girl in that horror movie. Just from that point right there, that was a pretty good shot.
I was like, okay, that was cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I thought the effects stood up very, very well, every bit as good as they were from the first movie. I mean, again, you're talking about something that's so grand in scale. You're not talking about something with a lot of detail. So all you have to do is just, I don't want to say it like it's so simple to do, but I mean, you're talking about some just wind, rain, and some swirly shit in the background, and because there's not so much fine detail in it, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, the way that they. I mean, I don't know how you shoot this kind of stuff, but the way that just it's peeling apart essentially this rodeo as it's coming through, stuff like that. Every bit as good as the first one. I can't knock any of it at all. And again, I mean, the fire tornado thing was very cool. It's not like we haven't seen fire tornado videos on YouTube that people do with like a campfire and a couple of box fans. But at the same time, I mean, just to see it in such a grand scale, it was a really cool shot, one that I really enjoyed. But I mean, let's make this comparison now. I think we kind of have to. I mean, does it hold its own against the original? I mean, these movies are. I mean, this is what happens when you try to do one of these legacy sequels. Is you're always going to be compared to the original. We saw it with Top Gun; they did a good job. We've seen, we've got it coming up with the Alien Romulus coming up here in the next few months. Mm-hmm. We're going to be comparing that one to the other Alien movies from 20, 30 years ago. Putting these two movies side by side, I mean, were they both equally as good? Was one marginally better, or was one just light years better? I'll go to you first, Jay. Compare the two. I mean, how do they compare?
Well, like I said, I do enjoy both of these movies, and I'm trying to not obviously speak from like nostalgia because you know what? God damn it. Jurassic Park and Twisters, I'm like, again, I don't know what it is with this hand-in-hand thing I've been doing all night, but I was like, you know what's funny? I think those are two movies I actually saw when I was really little, like still in the 90s, which is weird because I do remember seeing both of these movies. So there's some weird symmetry going on with these movies for me. I'm trying to keep that out of my objective opinion here, but I do still think that the first movie is still much better. It's like I said, that you can't even say anything for really effects. Like I said, the effects for both really still hit the right way, and characters, their motivations and whatnot all still work. I would put this one obviously behind the original. Not as good as, but what I was trying to think of is like I was trying to imagine like if someone had seen this movie, not knowing or hearing anything about the other one, I'm like, you could watch this on its own and still probably enjoy the movie for what it is. Then if somebody had to work backwards, you know what I mean? Like we're going forward because again, we're having the hindsight of having enjoyed the original movie for the last like 30 years. But yeah, I would definitely put 2 in the number 2 slot. Not as good as, but like it's still a fun watch. It's still worth watching. I mean, I watched it twice, so I went back. I gave it money again. You traded cows for
Right.
chickens, and I wasn't mad. So,
I think it was killed some chicken.
and then just comedically timed chicken drops on his car. I'm like, yeah, okay.
That got Jennifer in the theater.
Yeah.
that jump scare got her. She jumped out of her damn chair as we were watching it.
I just kind of laughed. I was like, chicken. I mean, you could have said a million things. You could have backed up and been like, I think I scrambled some eggs, and I still would have laughed. I don't know. It's just something stupid. Actually, can I make one more comparison? Actually, I think it's still funny. It's not quite the same. If you saw that picture of Bodie, or what's his name, Boone, the drone chick, and then Ben. I think in a way it's like it's enough of a callback. I'm like, I think Ben is, like I said, that audience character, that Jamie Gertz character, who's like kind of the fish out of water. He's from England. He's never really experienced stuff like this. I'm like, oh, he is the funny, like, oh crap, I'm not supposed to be here kind of person. So
when he pukes and falls over, everybody popped for that scene in my theater, by the way. So.
Yeah, that's what gets you the million subscribers on YouTube. Yeah, I was like, I kind of noticed. I'm like, he's supposed to quote be the Jamie Gertz character, and it still kind of worked. It's still funny because he's got that nervous, like, oh, so we're gonna do it again? Why didn't you talk about the harness before? You know what I mean? Like, so I think that was still funny. It's
harness on, for Christ's sake! We're driving into a tornado. Talking to him like that's it.
Yeah. I think that works too. It was still it's subtle enough that I noticed. I knew what it was supposed to be, right? But I don't know. If he would have been on a cell phone talking to somebody saying we got flying chickens, I don't know. I'm glad they didn't do that. But
yeah, I thought that he gave good comedic effect to this movie. It's like Cora and I are very aware of who he is. He plays the Marquis of Hexham on the last couple seasons of Downton Abbey in the movies.
Oh, nice.
And me and her both being Downton Abbey fans, we're well aware of who he is. He's also done a lot of BBC stuff. He's actually done a lot of comedy work. So
that works.
The British TV and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of fun to see
British people can be funny.
See, we can. In American stuff too, not just the dry British humor.
No, but like literally perfectly right after that line, Tex is that guy. He's like, okay, Birmingham, Berkshire, what the hell, whatever, man.
I still do not. I don't get British humor. It's not for me, man. That's not my bag. I'll leave that to y'all. It's all good.
Let's see. Now let's talk about the science of all this real quick, because as I got home, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what is Twisters? Not Twister. There we go. Let me bring this up because I was reading a little bit about it. This is from the Wikipedia page, so take this as you will. Let me finish bringing it up. I'm sorry. I should have had this ready. News. But, the idea, I thought it was kind of funny because, Tech said that they could have gone this whole, like, Green New Deal way of, global warming thing about it. And they didn't, which I thought was cool. It didn't take you out of the movie. It just gave you a scientific idea and let you kind of run with it. So here's the scientific accuracy of it all. A scientific review in the New York Times pointed out impossibilities with the film's mechanism for dissipating tornadoes, observing that the method suggested would require many tons of the chemicals used and require a much longer period. So you would essentially instead of just doing a trailer full of 10 or 12 barrels, you would need probably several tanker trailers of these chemicals somehow to be mixed up and whatnot. And I thought it was funny that
telling me there's a chance.
Well, the way they describe it in the movie, like Texas alluded to it earlier, like the stuff that's in diapers is going to get sucked up there. It's going to absorb the moisture and then do something. And I'm thinking to myself, that's littering. If I just took a bunch of diapers and threw them in a tornado, you'd probably see I was littering.
You won't even notice with the damage path.
So if this stuff goes up,
tornado's littering. It's the bad guy. Remember?
Yeah. So if this stuff goes up there and does what it's supposed to do, it's not just going to evaporate and disappear. Once the tornado loses strength and dissipates, that stuff's got to come down. So you're talking about how much, whatever the weight would be. Let's say it's on the low end, like this movie suggests. You're talking about 10, 20 barrels of whatever the hell this stuff is going to be falling out of the sky. I'm like,
Well,
I don't know, but whatever.
I mean, he at least kind of tried to say, he's like, you need a ton of this, like a silo for one thing. I was like, I think you need more than that, my guy. But I think at least they kind of alluded to the fact that you need more than a few barrels in a little trailer. So I don't know.
well, they kind of even touched on that in the plot, though, when you think about it. Whenever Javi is dropping Kate off at the airport at the end of the film, he's wanting to be like, hey, whenever you get back to New York, be prepared. They're going to try to tell you the heat from the fire from the refinery or blah, 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 whatever it was, actually dissipated the tornado, but just be prepared to handle that. Oh, and then she's like, oh, well, would you like to give the speech or me? Whatever, quippy line she said. So they even kind of touch on that at the end of the film itself. So maybe they kind of knew the science would come into call later on. I mean, either that or it's just a circumstance. It could be either way.
Well, if someone ever digs up a fossilized mosquito, I mean, you let me know what happens with it. I'm just saying.
Life finds a way.
Yeah,
Life finds
exactly.
a way.
Tornadoes find a way.
Christmas find a way.
Now,
we need to recreate the poster. Tornadoes find a way. We need to put that on there somehow.
well,
I scroll up to a Twister.
Well, we know that there's somebody's going to find a way because we live in the age of sequels. So now let's talk about it. They've already discussed the possibility of a sequel to this movie. Let me go to you first, Tex. I mean, is there an avenue here that makes sense to you, or do you think we just need to leave the franchise alone?
Oh yeah, no. If they've got their teeth into Glen Powell and his happening is happening, I think there's no way they don't capitalize on the star of the Top Gun films and possible DC. And I mean, it's a Twister movie. I mean, they literally set up the beginning of the next one with the ending of this one with, them running out of the airport arm in arm, doing their thing. Yeah, I think, does it need another one? I don't necessarily think so, but from what I can tell, it's made pretty good money. Everybody's liking it. I think it's kind of inevitable at this point. I would guess we're probably getting another one. How good will a sequel to? I mean, is it going to be a Super Twister movie? I mean, hell, we already had twin tornadoes in this movie. Or we're going to have triplets, or is it? They're going to have, as Jeremy stated, if you do a sequel, you have to go bigger and better, right? So they already had some pretty bad stuff in this tornado. I mean, what's next? Are they going to put sharks in it? Because that'd be kind of cool. I'd be down for that.
There could be sharks in Oklahoma. You don't know. You ain't seen one.
Hey, you know what? A tornado could come from the Gulf of Mexico in Texas, come right up the east side of Texas into Oklahoma. There you go. One, as Frank always says, one line of dialogue away, and we're there, buddy. So, it's all good.
I don't know, Jay. What do you think? The possibility of a sequel. I'll give you some ideas of the future of the record give you in a minute. But I mean, is there an avenue here that you think could work? Is there an idea that you think would work out for a sequel, or do you think it's just time to walk away from this franchise and leave well enough alone?
The thing about some movies, excuse me, is they always do kind of leave you at the end wondering like, yeah, you could. I mean, there could be more. You could do something else. And it's kind of bugged me. And even as we all know, one of the dumbest things is like you could literally end a movie perfectly. I'm looking at you, Last Crusade. You rode off into the sunset. How fucking perfect is that? And you're like, yeah, but like aliens, am I right? Like, no, you're not. You're fucking wrong. No. Yes, so it doesn't even matter what you end it with. You could always still get something done up for a follow-up sequel. Are all the signs there, as I'm saying? Yes, like, yeah, that of course. So where they're going on another adventure, there's more tornadoes to be had. You could, and I get it. Like you said, Glen Powell's just rocketing through the fucking stratosphere with his fame now. So it would be dumb not to, but it's not like he still can't do other things. He doesn't necessarily have to keep doing this. All the signs are there, but I'm still in the camp of like, yeah, okay, we had our fun again. Maybe we should just leave it alone. I'm not. If we're going to talk about some of these, the key jangles, as I'm going to call it, if you're going to do that shit to me again, you were then now going to piss me off. Like I said, I like this movie. I'm a little disappointed in you, but like, don't do that again.
Tell me what y'all think about this. Obviously, in the beginning of the film, it starts off in New York, and that class is taking the tour, and that tour guide goes, "Yeah, well, we rarely get tornadoes in New York. We had an EF1 that hit blah blah blah." What if a sequel to Twisters is Glen Powell and Kate going back to New York and have a Twisters film, but in a different atmosphere in New York City, and they don't have all of their, Tyler doesn't have his redneck Batmobile and all of their science stuff, and they have to kind of battle it on a different plane or something. That could be kind of cool.
I think JL just said something that was kind of on my mind, where he just said a new one wouldn't work since now they know how to stop tornadoes. I'm like, yeah, now you're kind of in a corner of like, oh, well, now we can do this.
You can say the same thing about this movie though, because they didn't they solve them in the first one. I mean, so
well, not really. That tornado descended on that rodeo pretty damn fast. So I'm like, well, did they?
Right?
Did they really get this to work?
Well, that's kind of the interesting thing about like the villain, the antagonist being Mother Nature, is there's not really a way to beat her. She's always going to come back.
Right.
She's been here. Takes back what's hers.
She's been here since way before us. She's going to be here way after us in some way, shape, or form. So it's really about what next. I mean, you could change the locations. I actually think this location works best for this kind of movie. But at the same time,
oh no, I do too. I'm just throwing an idea out there. I'm not saying I would do it, just a possibility.
But at the same time, I mean, to me, you would have to go outlandishly big. For one, look, as far
as hurricanes now.
As far as just having a sequel, it's like, look, if you've got a good story that you think you can turn into something awesome that you think is going to be entertaining, then I say go for it. I mean, come on, I'd like to make a movie. I mean, even if it was a shitty movie, I'd like just the experience of doing it, just to get my creative shit out there. But I mean, so if you've got a story, do it. But the only way you can, because they knew that they had to go bigger for this one than they went in the first one. That's why it's the F5 right at the beginning again, and it's the Twisters, because it's more than one Twister. It's Twisters plural. That kind of gives you the idea that this movie they were going to at least present it as bigger. So I mean, what do you do except in the beginning of the movie you just say, oh, the largest tornado ever on record is an F6. They're like, has anybody ever seen an F7? Nobody's ever seen an F7. The next thing you know, at the end of the movie, you're seeing an F8 or some crazy shit like that. One that is like literally the width of Oklahoma, just rolling right through the middle of the.
That's like apocalyptic disaster type movie.
Yeah,
that's getting a little.
That's the problem. Once you get too big, it kind of. It gets a bit ridiculous. It's like the Fast and Furious.
Well,
when those movies were grounded, they were.
That's what I was about to say.
All of a sudden, guys are flying in space. It just gets a little too ridiculous.
I was like, just because you keep making money does not mean you need to keep making the fucking movies. That's where I was going to go with this. I'm like, I know all the signs are there, but it does not mean you can.
Doesn't mean you should. There's a lot of Jurassic Park similarities with Twisters. I'm just realizing in this review, by the way, that's kind of crazy.
I'm telling you, I don't know about this whole. I keep seeing it now, which is hilarious that this movie just came out and I keep seeing this dead man walking thing, like where it's these two tornadoes that are side by side and they look like they're doing this, almost like the ropes are kind of going like that, like they're walking. I'm like, that would be terrifying on its own. So I'm like, if something like that happens, that'd be kind of scary. Like, yeah, multiple tornadoes like side by side like that. I mean, we had twins, obviously, but it was just for the fact of like, are we gonna go left or right?
But let's go ahead and get into some trivia now as we start to get to the home stretch of this review. Let's see. Daryl Cox, who plays the trailer salesperson who suggests using the aluminum trailer, is a local Oklahoma actor who also appeared in the 1996 film as the mechanic who tells Bill Paxton's character how long his truck will take to fix.
No shit.
Yeah, that was the same guy.
Really?
I was wondering if there were some when you linger on somebody for long enough, I keep wondering like, are you important? Is there something about you? Because I'm like that. That was also another line of dialogue that just made me fucking laugh. He's just like. They're explaining, we want this big trailer, we want to do this with it, and then the girl's like, wait, why do we want to do this? Oh, we want to put it up in a tornado and make sure it takes it, not us. Yeah, you want aluminum. I'm like, he didn't even break. He's like, no, I got you. He's like, I get it.
I was wondering if we got any legacy casting and whatever. I did not realize that. That's cool. That was a fun few seconds in the film. I like that. That's cool.
Are you ready for another one?
Definitely upped his business game, went from changing tires to selling trailers. So
well, he's been there for 35-ish years, 30-ish years, 35 years. So he's expanded the business a bit since Bill Paxton and Joe rolled through there. But you talk about legacy characters. I don't know if you recognize this, Jeremy. I did not recognize it as me and you were sitting in the theater watching the movie.
Oh,
but James Paxton, the son of Bill Paxton, appears during the rodeo scene as the angry hotel guest.
See, again, I'm like, there's a scene of somebody where I'm like, are you important? Like, why are you here? You're making a big scene.
So he's the guy that
I kind of see it now.
I don't want to give you a bad review, bro, or whatever he says.
That's it.
He's that.
At first, I thought it was fucking Finn Wolfhard, and I was gonna fucking riot. I'm like, stop putting him in everything. I just for a second,
it was a cameo. It wasn't like he was carrying the movie or anything.
I don't fucking care. I want to see Stranger Things 5, but I'm just tired of seeing his face. I'm just saying.
Hey, but in all fairness, the cable was out, and he couldn't get a Coke. All right, he was having a bad night,
and the AC was blowing
hot. He had
hot
to do
air.
what he had to do. So yeah.
The poor guy just started working there too. I mean, come on.
He died. He died his birthday.
And then he died.
I don't want to
die.
I'm like, why'd you stand up? Like, have you never Oklahomaed before? Don't stand up in a tornado, man. You got to keep low.
Never been here? Yeah.
Right. Where'd you move from?
Did you just move here from fucking New York or some shit? Whatever.
Right.
But let's see. I didn't realize this until I was reading through some of the trivia. Bill Paxton had actually tried to get a sequel to Twister off the ground for years. After seeing success as the director of films like Frailty in 2001, Paxton wanted to direct a modernized telling of the 1925 tri-state tornado that took the lives of 695 people. Paxton, with the help of producer James Cameron, also wanted the film to have an MPAA R rating and maintain a realistic depiction of the damages that real tornadoes can cause, and planned for it to be shot in 3D. The film at one point had an unofficial schedule date for summer of 2012 under the title Twister 3D, but it was ultimately canceled due to budgetary concerns, and several years later by Bill Paxton's death in 2017.
Yeah. We can make this shit like terrifying, and like that's what I'm saying. It's like the thing that we're talking about Mother Nature. I'm like, you kind of have to respect it a little bit. Like you can do all this cool shit, but man, she'll kick your ass. All right. So they can be terrifying.
One thing this movie did to kind of I like how they lingered on, like when the people would get sucked up into the tornado. You got more of that in this film than you did the original. Like when the first one, the tornadoes just kind of got them. Like this one, like especially during like the rodeo scene when somebody would get sucked up into it, you actually got to see some of the chaos and terror that was going on. Like, I mean, probably the most frightening scene in the whole film, besides the ending, was there in the rodeo when the twister hits and everybody's running off, and that horse is just galloping and running, just straight up hits that dude, knocks it like. That sucks, and then the cars are running into one another, and they did show some of that, but yeah, I'd be down for a rated R tornado movie. Like, sign me up. I'm down.
Yeah.
Let's see. In honoring the original Twister film, this film was entirely shot on Kodak 35mm film on location in Oklahoma. Director Lee Isaac Chung said that a large part of the decision came from wanting to capture the natural and vibrant colors of the state of Oklahoma.
Nice.
Well,
like I said, I like the fact that he wanted to pay homage to the original but still make this his own movie. I think that was the best decision he made.
I kept looking for a Casey cameo, considering how much he likes to pop up in other people's shit and get his name out there. I figured I'd see him in the background somewhere. But I didn't see a lot of Casey
I can't play my Fortnite out here. I can't watch WWE. God damn it.
Yep, first one in.
Start burning.
First one in.
Yep. He lingers. He waits for it now.
Right.
Let's see. I thought I had a picture of this, but I do not, unfortunately. Glen Powell's parents appear in this movie, sitting right behind him and Daisy Edgar-Jones during the rodeo scene. According to Glen Powell, his parents have appeared in all of his movies since Spy Kids 3D in 2003.
Holy shit, that's cool. Okay, that's pretty awesome.
So
Talk about support.
I wonder who his parents were in Dark Knight Rises then.
Right.
I'll have to look that up.
They could have just been standing in the background. I mean, he was on the the trade floor of the stock exchange. So
yeah, and he got his head bashed in
Right.
by Bane. So I mean, you know.
Yeah. He gets messed up by Bane in that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. After delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, filming was halted in July 2023 due to the 2023 writer's strike and could not resume filming until December. Because of this, major sequences were still being filmed in February of this year, just months before its opening in July. And post-production teams were still working around the clock as late as 2 weeks before the opening in theaters to make up for lost time.
Wow.
Sometimes when they're like, was it? I was watching. Was it Ghostbusters or something they did that with? Like where they're working on it as they're filming it too. And I'm like, that's crazy. How you even get this stuff done? Like in that respect, I'm like, usually, best case scenario, you get it all planned out, done, written. You film it. You may have to come back and do some other tweaks and then edit, post production, put it out there. But I know it's not how it all works. Yeah, it's not how the world works. So
yeah, it's and again, it's like, because the industry has moved away from actual film and gone digital, a lot of the people that are doing this work now, they haven't really worked on film before. So this whole new generation, a lot of these people weren't around when they were still actually cutting film and, splicing it together and stuff like that. So I would imagine that was probably a bit of a struggle too, because nowadays everybody's doing it all digitally. I don't remember the last time I heard of, anyway, of a movie being shot on actual 35 millimeter film. IMAX is something different, but I mean, it's all done digitally now. So
did he do Oppenheimer?
Well, that IMAX film is not 35 millimeter. It's a totally different kind of film.
No, but he made a film.
He did
version of it, right?
So, the IMAX film is a physical reel of film, but it's not Kodak 35 millimeter film. It's a very different stuff.
Okay, fair. I was like, I think that's the last time I heard film actually being used, but that's that's different.
But yeah, so it's like, for all the money that look, how long would it have taken to shot a movie like this back in 1983? Movies that they shot back in 1983 for 6 or 7 months, they would probably film in a month or two now, because they're going to do all the shit they need to do to. For one, it's not as. They're getting more back into more practical effects in Hollywood, which makes me happy. But when you had to do the practical stuff, you didn't have the help of computers. It took months to get a couple of shots right, whereas, a couple of guys can work for a week and get this whole sequence of some shit like this.
Well,
at least framed out to where all
and not to mention,
well, you have second unit directors and shit that can do all the other stuff that you don't,
Well, and let's also not forget, one of the other advantages of shooting digital is you can edit as you're shooting, which is somebody like James Gunn is synonymous for. They're editing as they go, so they kind of know what product they have along the way. So that takes a month or two here and there off of production time. This is which is why they cut it down so much.
Yeah, Kevin Smith.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. James Gunn was just the first one that popped in my head, but so that instead of having to process all the film and whatever, you just go to your digital. Which say what you will about it, I prefer the old school film just for the nostalgia's sake. But what are you going to do?
Let's see. The speakers on top of his truck. Where's the picture at? The speakers on top of the RV driven by Tyler Owen's team were actually put there as an homage to the PA speakers mounted on top of Dusty's RV in the original. The what was the name? It was on the barn burner.
Called the barn burner, baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course.
It's the best vehicle in the fleet.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. If that ain't a party truck.
If it would have been possible, I would like to have seen I don't have it in my notes, but the director was asked about the idea of bringing Helen Hunt in for this film, and he had said something to the effect. I read an interview with him. And he had said something to the effect of, "I tried to ask myself what Helen Hunt's character, what the Joe character, would be doing now, 30-something years later. Would she still be chasing storms?" And he thought about the idea when they were putting the movie together about making her the mother, and he was just like, I didn't see her going from chasing storms to being the farming mother. He's like, I really feel like she'd be out there, and I couldn't have her out there chasing the storms and put the focus on the characters for this movie. So we just chose not to have her in there at all. And while they make that a little illusion, they have the Dorothy 5 there, which I was just like, holy shit, what does that mean? And they never really
nothing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that is nothing but a key jingle to get all of us film nerds. They're like, ooh, there's the thing. We're going to get, whatever. And they literally destroy it in 2 minutes. And yeah, it was nothing but a tease.
I was like, so you're not going to explain to me how that got there at least. I'm like, did they...
Right. I mean, that's what
you're telling me that she's after grant money. I don't think she had money to fucking buy that thing all of a sudden, or it was just sitting in some barn somewhere.
Right.
Like, no. That's a Dorothy 5. Where'd that come from? Like,
right. This is my main question. Is this a remake or a sequel? I mean, because technically it's both.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've argued with myself since Friday when I saw this film of which one is it, and I can't come up with a decision. I don't know. No.
And me and Brooding Gamer were up there in the comments talking about it. I'm like, they telegraphed that so goddamn hard. Where's she going? What's she doing? She stole dude's truck. Oh, she went back home. Oh my god. And then she's just like, hey mom, it's me. You don't like have her in the shadows in the dark and then come real forward slow, telegraph the fuck out of it. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, okay, don't do that to me.
If that was real Oklahoma,
you build that up. What?
If that was real Oklahoma, mom would have been. You would hear with a shotgun pointing out where who's in my damn house. That would have. I mean, have these people not seen Texas Chainsaw? You don't just go in somebody's house in the sticks. You get shot for stuff like that.
Buddy. I mean, she knew where the
you say who you are first, right? But mom don't know she's there. Mom sees some random white Dodge pulling up in the driveway. I mean, for she knows somebody's coming to rob her ass or something. So. Hey mom, I'm home.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, mom, it's Kate. Don't get the 12 gauge, please. Something like that. Jesus, come on now.
I don't know. I didn't. I don't know if it's in your trivia, but like in the rodeo scene when the tornado comes through, I'm like, also if you're gonna make her wear literally the same exact outfit,
yeah,
make it make sense. Down to the white tank top, the brown the
white tank top that was in everything. Like they were blatantly, which is why I argue remake or sequel, because I'm going remake. I think this is more remake than sequel.
Yeah, because I'm like, why is she wearing that? I mean, if it's an homage, cool. But you literally have you already opened up with there's a Dorothy 5. I'm like, okay, that's literally a thing from the original movie. So.
And what was the point of the shoulder harness that she's wearing at the end of the movie?
It's for her camera.
Was that just
I already see Frank rolling his fucking eyes. I thought too, like, is she strapped? What are you gonna do? And I realized,
I told Jeremy as we were leaving, I was like, why is she wearing a shoulder holster? And then I looked and she got her camera.
Yeah, like she's not packing heat.
No, I'm like,
she's not packing heat.
That is a thing for cameras. I forgot. I was like, but I was really confused. Like, what are you gonna do? What the hell?
Like, I mean, and if that was for a firearm, that's going to be right under your armpit. That's going to be very inconveniently uncomfortable. But that was weird.
See, if you that right there, house with a shoulder strap, then she probably would have shot you.
This is what I'm saying. So
you had your back turned. You were getting one right in the fucking back of the head.
She's wearing a harness on her shoulder, go quietly at the middle of the night, going into a house on a farm in Oklahoma, and you're not going to hear a shotgun noise. Yeah, I question your
neighbors ain't gonna hear it because she's gonna bury you the next morning.
Right.
So, bury you in the cornfield. You'll fertilize the cornfield for this year.
Yeah, I'll tell the sheriff about a month. What the hell?
Yeah, this piece of trivia confused me a little bit because I wasn't sure what they were naming this place. The oil refinery that explodes and creates the fire tornado is owned by Bethnic Petroleum, as seen on the sign Hobby runs into immediately before the explosion. Benches Petroleum is the fictional oil company that owned the deep-sea oil rig at the Abyss. The company's name also appeared in the original Twister on the side of an oil truck that is thrown by the tornado and explodes in front of Joe and Bill. So I did not catch the sign as he was driving into it. I just wasn't looking at that detail. I'll have to go back and look. But I'll have to see what was the name of the oil refinery in the movie. Was it Benthic Petroleum or was it Benches Petroleum? Because if it was Bench's petroleum, that connects it to the Abyss, connects it to the original Twister, at least with some little Easter egg. I don't know, but I didn't notice that when he backs into the sign. It happened kind of fast, and I was too busy watching flame shoot in the sky through the tornado.
I was too busy watching the damn
my eyes were somewhere else at that time.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to that.
Right.
I wasn't worried about the sign. I was worried about trying to not die.
That one got by me. I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, one last piece of trivia. The story that Kate's mother tells Tyler during their picnic about young Kate running naked out of the house to watch a storm parallels the original story told about Bill Paxton's scare at the original Twister, where he gets out of his car naked, walks a tornado, and chucks his bottle of Jack Daniels at it.
He without apparel. Yeah,
I didn't even catch that until I was reading this piece of trivia. I was like, I guess that is kind of close. But...
yeah, whatever. Close enough.
I mean, different situations, though. I mean, this girl, like I said, she looks at these tornadoes and wonders. So she's just kind of like, she's absorbed by the immenseness of a tornado, whereas Bill at that time was just drunk, and he's like, fuck this tornado. He's drunk.
Have a drink.
Have a drink.
Well, I think even that story that her mom says, like, yeah, the worse the weather, the happier the girl is. And there's a scene where they're going out looking at the tornado, and she's taking pictures. Like, Glen Powell kind of steps back and looks at her, just the glee on her face seeing this tornado right in front of her. It's like, yeah, there she is. She's back. Like, you know, it's something that she's just like enamored by. I think it's kind of funny that she just kind of accepts her fate when she's in the truck. Like, she's holding onto the steering wheel, and she's just like, nope, hands in the lap, and we're just going to let this thing ride because I can't do anything else. You just kind of surrender yourself to the storm.
Yeah. But that's all the trivia I got. Let's go ahead and start to wrap things up there. Let me get your guys' final thoughts on Twisters, the sequel, requel, not the same thing as Twister 96, whatever you want to call it. All I know is an entertaining movie. Tex, give me your final thoughts on Twisters.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Is it as good as the first one? No, but few sequels, requels, remakes are. A lot of things I liked about it, some things I didn't. I do have to give them credit for ending in a movie theater, in an old movie theater, watching Frankenstein. I thought that was really cool.
That was the best.
Scene. I loved that.
That was
like as the tornado.
That was the best.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, like as the tornado was ripping through the screen, it's alive and everything is going on. That was so cool to see. Definitely worth seeing. You know it. The cast of characters is not as great as the original, but how do you top that cast? I mean, that's like a once-in-a-generation kind of deal that the originals had. But they did well with this one. Glen Powell is a thing. I don't think there's any denying at this point. So,
I think we need new merch. Glen Powell is a thing. You can trust a guy who puts his face on a T-shirt.
Only if Frank does like a disappointed face below it. Like that would be a great T-shirt.
Oh, look!
But,
I was telling Jennifer like that night we got home. I was like, Glen Powell is the next. And she goes, the next one. I was like, he's just the next. He's the next heartthrob. He's the next big thing. He's the next.
Oh yeah,
hot guy. I was like,
I think JL in the comments is onto something. I think we may see him wearing a Batman cowl. Like I could see them doing something like that. But either way, definitely go check this one out. It was a fun watch. Just have fun with it and, go kill some chickens. So you'll enjoy it.
Jay, give me your final thoughts on Twisters.
It was windy. I did that joke twice and it's still funny. It's a fun watch. And like I said, if you try not to think too much about it, like I'm still mad about some of the key jangles that don't make any sense. I'm like, if you're going to jangle it, at least, I know we joke like, it's just member berries. I'm like, yes, but like, I don't give me something. Don't do it and then not make any sense at all. Like, if you're going to leave it up to my imagination, I'm like, okay, well, sure. Maybe they found a Dorothy 5 for some reason, or somehow she raided Helen Hunt's closet and the clothes happened to fit. I don't know. Like, the other call back to
that'll be in the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. They come up on this random farmhouse in like Oklahoma, and she needs clothes, and there's just like a closet full of white tank tops, and that's all that's in there.
Yeah.
So,
And a callback to like, hey, it's good to have you back. I'm not back. I'm like, shut up. Just don't. Come on. And the whole, I'm like, I don't know why they had to play a mystery of like when Ben's like, Kate, what? What's your surname in case I want to put you in the story? She's like, Kate's fine. I'm like, why are you trying to play coy? We already know your last name. You're worried about the bomb drop that like your last name was like it was either Helen Hunt's last name or Bill Paxton's. I'm like, there was no point to like dodge that question. What? Again, I was like, were you gonna drop something like, oh, Ray Skywalker? Shut up.
Well,
come on.
In all fairness, to go back to the talk of a potential sequel, as this movie was released, the director Chung expressed interest in developing a sequel. Is what it says. The main cast similarly hoped for to further explore the continuing stories of the main characters, with Ramos even saying that the script was intentionally leaves their stories unfinished. So it's not saying there's 100% going to make a sequel, but I mean, the door is cracked open, you know.
That or I'm like, you could have made her maybe like a niece, like her mom could have been like Helen Hunt's sister or something. You don't have to have the same. Her last name wasn't gonna be like Harding or something. I was like, you could have just made it something in the family. I don't know, because you still have that enamored like thing, mesmerized by storms. She has like that sixth sense like Bill Paxton had. I'm like, you could have made her their kid. I don't get it. All that aside, though, no, I enjoyed the movie. It was a fun time. It was a fun watch, and I watched it twice. So if that says anything, yeah, and I don't necessarily like. I almost said standalone sequel. I don't know.
Standalone sequel.
You can watch these separately, but I mean, I'd enjoy them for different reasons. It's worth your time, is what I'm saying. So
I'm writing the sequel for them. Here's how it goes. Now it doesn't have to be Bill. It doesn't have to be Bill and Joe's kid. Hear me out on this one. It could be Dusty and Jamie Gertz's kid. Maybe they got together after the events of the first movie and had a kid.
Wait, who you cut out for me? Whose kid?
Philip Seymour Hoffman and Jamie Gertz's characters hooked up after the first movie. It's their kid. Well, I bet it's their kid.
You put an image in my head of him going like the sun. No, don't do that to me.
If we're gonna go with odd sequels, I'm gonna go the opposite right here. I'm gonna do a villain origin story. We just saw evil Superman, get left in the mud, right? He's gonna be the star of my proposed film, where instead of just tracking tornadoes, he's now creating tornadoes to go get even with the people that left him behind. So that's the Twister movie I'm going to make. That's the one I'm going for.
Damn it.
You learn how to talk to the tornadoes and point them in certain directions.
He's got the black Superman suit so he can blend in.
And depending on if I can get the DC license or not, he can use his Superman powers to create tornadoes, and he's trying to kill, Glen Powell and Kate and all that. Like, that's going to be my movie right there. So it'll be fun.
And Michael Rosenbaum was going to play Lex Luthor for Smallville.
Sure. Hey, why not? He was a great Lex Luthor. Did you not watch Smallville?
Cross everything over while we're at it.
Cross them all over. Hey, at this point, does continuity really matter anyways? Everything has a multiverse. We might as well have fun with it. Do our thing.
They're still apparently working on a crossover between 21 Jump Street and Men in Black, apparently, from what I heard the other day. That is still.
Does anybody want that though? Like,
no.
I've got all the Men in Black I need. Like, I'm good. So.
No, nobody wants it. They're going to do it because it's one of those things that people will go to watch just out of curiosity, not because they have an expectation. You're just like, I got to see if this is awesome or if it's a dumpster fire. But I have to pay. The
crossover I'm waiting on is the G.I. Joe Transformer crossover that they are doing. That's the one that interests me the most. So I'm waiting on that one.
Yeah, but for me again, not as good as the original. It was never going to be. I didn't want to hold those standards up too high, but it was a fun movie in the end. I mean, I can nitpick a couple of things, and I think there's a legitimate argument why I don't like those things. But I mean, at the end of the day, I was entertained wildly for 2 hours. I can't knock it. I mean, I thought the cast did their job. Glen Powell kind of does carry the movie, and that's why they put him in there because he's a good-looking guy. The action stuff was every bit as the actiony parts of it. The special effects were every bit as good as the original film. It was a good watch. I went in there, like I said, not knowing what I wanted, not just not knowing what I was going to get, but not knowing what I really wanted. But I want the shot-for-shot remake. That I want something new and crisp. But I want a straight-up sequel. Not knowing what I wanted, but what he ended up giving me ended up filling everything in my heart that I wanted this movie to be. And I didn't realize it until the final credits were rolling. But it made me happy. I thought it was a good movie. I'll go see it again in theaters at some point while it's still in theaters. Go see this movie in theaters. Don't be one of these assholes that thinks that theaters are dying. You just gotta wait for things to come out on streaming because now basically things are hitting VOD like a week after they hit theaters. Go see this movie in theaters. Go show this movie some love in the theaters. It's well worth it. Movies like this need to be seen on a bigger scope so that you really get the effects. Because you are not going to get the effects, even if you have a bigger TV. Like I have a bigger TV, but I will never in a million years be able to get the effects on my bigger TV of like one of the starships coming in Star Wars the way that I would get it on a big screen. Like that the effect will never hit you the same way that on a big screen. So go see this on a big screen. Give it some love at the box office. It is well worth it, I think. Even if especially if you are not someone who has seen the original, like, because let's face it, it's 30-something years old. Even if you're one of these like teenage kids who's never even heard of Bill Paxton, you're going to go watch this movie. You're going to enjoy it greatly. You'll go back and watch the original, and you'll like that more, I'm sure.
How has somebody never heard of Bill Paxton? Like somebody like that exists?
Hey,
are you kidding me?
Kids these days with the hair and the music, I don't know, whatever. But. But yeah, go check it out. I think it's well worth your time. It's well worth the trip to the theater. Go see it on the big screen, see the full effects, and that's what you guys should be doing. It's a good time. I think you'll enjoy it. Something you can do over the course of the next couple of days before the other big movie comes out that we're going to be talking about next week.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a good place at wrapping this thing up. I want to thank my amazing co-hosts for coming and doing a great job, as always, starting with my hetero life mate, Jeremy. Where can the folks at home find you, sir?
Well, we're not going to be here this Thursday because we are going to be balls deep in Wolverine and Deadpool. Take that line, what I just said, however you want. Because
take it literally. Take it literally.
We literally have Xbox controllers with asses of both Deadpool and Wolverine. So I don't have an Xbox, which sucks. But anyway, so yeah, maybe next Tuesday, but yeah, Tuesday, Thursday is usually the same time, same bat channel, same redneck Batmobile. And I'm telling you, like I'd love to have that truck just for no other reason.
I need it.
You know what? Hold on, I do have a pyrotechnic and fireworks license. I mean, I could do that. You give me a truck and
I've got a truck. I've got a truck that I'm willing to cut up and put together. And
I was gonna say you can do full coverage on that truck.
I can do the mechanic work. I can do the mechanic work and the welding. You can do the fireworks side. We team up on this thing. We might come up with something sharp here. Is all I'm saying. So we'll figure it out.
We're on YouTube channel now. Oh God. Anyway, yeah. So I'm not.
Kids once heard the legend of the man named the Extreme.
Yeah. Something about some evil guy. I don't know. He killed him. I think he killed him or something. Yeah. I don't do anything else, so you're stuck with me on here.
And the one who I'm sure is looking up schematics right now to weld an outer frame to his truck. The Lone Star State, my man Tex. Where can the folks at home find you, my friend?
You'll find me in the theaters twice on opening day for this film. I'm gonna go to the movies and get some head, y'all. So I've already got.
God damn it!
I've already got my Wolverine popcorn bucket. Cinemark exclusive, by the way. I did find it. Shout out to my buddy at my local Cinemark. But yeah, go check out Deadpool and Wolverine and go get you some head. So it'll be good.
Some oily, buttery head.
Really buttery head.
He's got sting, man. Oh God, some salty popcorn.
No teeth. The kids don't know what that means. We know.
We know.
The kids don't know what that means. We know.
We know.
Hey, how do you think those kids got here? If we weren't doing that, they wouldn't be born. So you're welcome. So it's fine.
As for me, like Jeremy said, we will not be here on Thursday. I may do a random stream tomorrow, just kind of bullshitting, maybe playing some Fortnite or something. I haven't made
I'll
up
do
my mind
that.
yet. It's going to depend on what time I get home from work. But as Jeremy said, 48 hours from now, me and him are going to be firmly sitting in our seats. We've got tickets, so we are 48 hours away, Jeremy. We will be in our seats, probably holding hands, maybe even touching tips while we watch Deadpool and Wolverine, enjoying everything that movie is going to be.
I promise I won't get whiskey claws.
I'm so happy I'm not going to watch this movie with y'all because I don't think I could be friends with y'all after seeing that.
But the reviews have started to come out and they have been phenomenal. Like at this point, I don't think, even with my high expectations, I don't think there's any way this movie is going to disappoint. But 48 hours from now, Jeremy and I will be in the middle of our whatever comatose state that this movie is going to be putting us in. I think about
maximum effort.
We will literally, I think 48 hours from now, with the tickets that I got for us for Thursday, we are literally going to be in the middle of the movie in 48 hours from now.
Oh, thank God.
So I am so ready. So again, no show on Thursday. May do something either, if not tomorrow night, maybe Saturday night. It depends. I might do a fireside chat Saturday. I have not had a chance to do one of those in a long time.
I'll be drinking and dancing to some Irish music Saturday night.
I haven't gotten around to doing that, but now that I might have Saturday free to do that. But I don't know.
Drinking.
I'll do a random thing at some point this week. But again, nothing on Thursday, and then next Tuesday we're back here for the wrap up of a Twister Pool or Dead Twister or whatever the hell we had decided to call this. Month. All Twister, all Deadpool for this month, and it was not a waste. We went through all the Deadpool movies 1 and 2, and now 3 on next Tuesday. We went through both Twister and Twisters, both very good movies. It's been a fun month doing a Twist Pool. So if I'd have thought about it, we'd have made a shirt. I think that would have been funny. Just like Barbenheimer. That's a marketing thing that they missed. They could have done Twist Pool for this entire month because Twister and Deadpool coming out within a week of each other. That was a marketing opportunity missed. Somebody needs to listen to me. I can cure world hunger. I can make world peace, and
we've had like 1,000 ideas that are tremendous. Nobody listens to us because we're just hillbillies on the YouTube channel, but
we're just bucks on YouTube. That's all right. One of these days somebody will give us more ideas a shot.
We made Doom Guy and Isabel a thing because the games came out like the same damn day, and that wasn't one of the funniest damn things I've ever seen. Come on.
But thanks to my co-host for coming by and being amazing as always. Thanks to all of you for coming and hanging out with us. We very much appreciate it. We will see you guys on Tuesday for Deadpool and Wolverine. Time. We'll see you guys then. Adios.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up the CD market.
Right. There was no flying cow in this movie. The one Easter egg that you almost had to have was a flying cow. Yeah. All they gave you was a chicken that dropped for the jump scare.
I don't think chickens work quite as well.
Not the same. Not the same thing. I mean, even
I was hoping for flying donkey
through the window or something would have been better.
Wait a minute. There's a deep cut here. They ate steak and eggs. We saw the steak. Now we saw the eggs.
Ah.
That is true. See,